What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Adam. It's the morning of August 21st, and it's Thursday. Um, I don't even know where to start. It's good. It's not bad. Nothing, I'm stressed out. I'm tired. I'm burned out. Like, I'm going through a period of burnout. I have been for weeks. Um, but it's kind of the way I've been explaining it. Here we go with the phlegmy throat. Um, the way I've been explaining it is that this trauma of August 12th, 2022, all the way to April 2nd, 2024, being locked up behind bars, coming home, and all the trauma and craziness I went through from the day I got home till the day I moved into this place. It was a lot of baggage and weight on my shoulders, I guess. And I never had a chance to get out of fight or flight mode. So this tension, this exhaustion, the burnout, it just all hit me. And so for the last few weeks, it's been, I wake up with, I have good intentions at the beginning of the week, but the week just falls apart. And it doesn't take much to stress me out to the point of inaction. I don't know if that's like a PTSD thing or what, but I truly need to go sit in nature in some place that's 100% quiet with a campfire in front of me and just peace and tranquility, and just like take 2, maybe 3 days to just sit there with a fire and nature and peace and quiet. Maybe a little bit of music here and there. I have what I need to do it. I have the basic camping gear with, I don't have all my, of course, I don't have what I used to have in terms of camping gear, but I have enough to do that. And so I'm awaiting a check to come in the mail that's supposed to be enough for me to go get a car. And that's my first priority. As soon as that gets here, I'm going to have to pay a massive amount of bills at the end of this month. The first cell phone bill is big, ridiculously big, and then it calms down from there. There's a year's worth of web hosting that I have to pay for all at once, and it's past, the first year was cheap, but they get you after the renewal, so it's expensive. It's fine. It's just the timing couldn't be. I'm just going to have faith that timing wise, it's all going to work out. I have to do some stuff today. It's insane. You can see it in me, and I just can't even think of a complete sentence right now. If I don't have notes in front of me to read about what I want to talk about, it just kind of, I'm flaking out. And I'm just kind of doing a little bit of a video this morning to just warm up to the day, because there's a lot of stuff I got to do today. And I know that when I go to this bakery on Saturday, a couple of days from now, it's going to be complete and total chaos. That's what I've heard through the grapevine, that be prepared. It's probably going to be another one of these days where I go in at 8 in the morning, 8:30 I start, And I'm probably not going to leave to come home until 7 o'clock at night. Maybe not. We'll see. If things are really busy and everybody's freaking out and like having a panic attack because of how busy it is, I'm not just gonna ditch these people and walk out the door. I'll it's fine. I don't have to be home. There's nothing, I don't have any important appointments to keep. So, I'm just, I'm burned out. But it's like you can get burned out when things are going good in your life. I've been through this before. I've experienced this kind of a burnout before. After going through a really stress-filled period of life. Not to the extreme that I'm feeling it right now, but I know what it is. There was a time, one real stressful period of my life was when my son was born. Leading up to the birth of him, leading up to his birthday, his born on date, it was a stressful summer. The economy, George Bush, this is back when George Bush ruined the economy back in 2008. All the greedy banksters that destroyed the economy were collecting bonus checks from bailout funds. The government taxpayers had to bail out these companies that failed. And then the executives and the leaders of the companies were giving themselves, $20 million bonus for their awesome performance that year. And if you recall, the rest of us peasants were struggling to survive. And that was around the same time that I got a baby coming. And then on the day that my son was born, I was fired from my job for going to the hospital for his birth. And then the company contested my unemployment claim, and I had to fight to get that, and I won. And then the company packed up and moved to Seattle, and all the people that relocated were given relocation packages to move to Seattle. And the condition was you have to work for the company for 90 days after the move, or you'll have to pay back your relocation package. On the 89th day, they called all those employees into the office and fired all of them on the spot a day before that 90 days was up. And then they kept their final paychecks. They didn't even get their final paydays. And this was the sister of the current CEO of Amazon. Somebody accused me in the comment section of admiring Amazon. And I think that's a stretch. I will say this about Amazon. You can get anything that you need to buy or want to buy delivered to your door, sometimes the same day that you order it. And 99.9% of the time when you go to the store, you can't find what you're looking for. If you go to a store looking to buy something, 9 times out of 10, you can't find it. I needed to buy wrenches one day. I went into Home Depot and Lowe's. They were across the street from each other, as they always are. The two giant tool warehouses. I couldn't find a set of fucking wrenches. Had to go on Amazon to get wrenches because the fucking tool warehouse, the giant tool warehouse that takes 15 minutes to walk from one side to the other, 2 of them across the street from each other. No, we can't. We don't have wrenches. So yeah, you have to, okay, so fine, now you gotta do everything online because you can't get what you want in the store. You can't get what you need in the store anymore. Like, I don't know how they have a giant tool warehouse across the street from each other. You can't get a set of wrenches. Basic wrenches. It'd be like going to Home Depot and Lowe's and not being able to find a hammer and some nails. Like, it's getting like that. So yeah, unfortunately, Amazon's where it's at. And the other good thing I can say about Amazon is their customer service is good. I'm sorry, it is. If I have a problem, which is rare, but whenever there is a problem, you can either resolve the problem by going to their website or app, clicking on a few buttons, and you don't even have to talk to a person. And when you do have to talk to a person, it's quick to get a person to respond. And they're pretty much going to solve your problem or give you your money back or do whatever it is. I've never had an unresolved issue from them in any way, shape, or form. There's one thing that they do well. Now, do I think that they're a great company? No, they treat the people that work for them like garbage. They're evil. I mean, but here we are. What are you going to do? Like, it doesn't matter what am I supposed to do every single thing in my life by going to some mom and pop store for everything I ever need or want to buy? Do I have to find a mom and pop store for every single little thing that I might need to get a hold of in my life? Pay 5 times more than what it would cost on, something like Amazon, Walmart, wherever the hell it is, Target. And because I support America, do I have to look for and research to find an American-made thing every time I need something? I got to make sure it was made in America because I'm America. I would love to buy American-made stuff if they actually made some shit here anymore. They don't. So, and if they do, it costs 6 times more. And a lot of times the American-made stuff is crap compared to what you get. Let's talk about vehicles. I'll never buy a Ford, a GM. I'll never buy those. Chrysler, I owned a Jeep. I'm not saying that every single Ford ever made is bad. Every single GM made is ever bad. Every single Chrysler, whatever it is, Fiat Chrysler now. But is it American? The stuff's made in America. Okay, fine. Pickup trucks are all made in America because that's LBJ signed a law that the reason why pickup trucks are so expensive compared to other vehicles is because the tariffs on pickup trucks are so ridiculously high that the companies were all forced to make the pickup trucks here in America, which is more expensive. So the pickup trucks cost. That's why pickup trucks are so ridiculously priced. But if you get a pickup truck made overseas, it's going to be better. Go watch the Top Gear episode where they tried to destroy a Toyota Hilux and they couldn't do it. They could not destroy this truck. They did everything they could possibly think of to try and destroy this truck, and it survived. And so they're like, fuck it. They put it up on a pedestal and put it on display in their studio where they filmed those shows. It's a famous truck. And now I've had good luck with a couple of Jeeps. I had a good Wrangler and I had a good old Cherokee. I've had shitty Wranglers. I had a shitty Jeep Liberty. I had a Ford Probe a long time ago, and that was a Mazda with a Ford badge on it. That was fine. But it was made by Mazda. It wasn't made by Ford. But I was doing a little bit of homework on some vehicles for sale. Just to see, because, I want to be a little educated when the money comes my way. And maybe even have something in the bucket to go take a look at. I haven't bought a vehicle by shopping around, by driving around and looking at things in person I can't even remember how long. I do all the shopping online, and I pretty much make up my mind that this is the vehicle I'm going to buy before I go look at it, but I do go and look at them. And I don't always buy the vehicle that I go look at because something might not be right or might not be able to come to an agreement financially. That, I'm a haggler, so I may not, and I'm willing. When you're a haggler, I think one of the key things when you're buying a car is be willing to turn around and walk away and actually get in your car and leave. Like, leave the scene. If you can't come to a deal, like, make yourself firm. If they're firm and you're firm and you're not coming together, turn around and leave, because you would be surprised how many times that person will cave in because they want to make the sale. But if they know you're not willing to leave, they'll plant their foot and they won't budge. If they think you're bluffing. I have gone on. One time I went and looked at a Jeep Wrangler that was. It was a 3-hour drive for me to go look at this thing, but it was worth. It was a real nice Jeep. It was a beautifully. I think it was a YJ. It was older. I don't remember what year, but it was like 99 or something like that. But it was from Florida, pristine, like not a spot of rust on it, shiny, beautiful. It was all souped up and tricked out aftermarket style, but it was a top-down showpiece Jeep. It did have a soft top, but this wasn't the kind of Jeep that you could buy and drive long distance drives in. So I had this Liberty and I was getting ready to trade it in for something new. This Wrangler would have been like a second vehicle, and if I had bought it, I would have just kept the Jeep Liberty for however long. And well, then the guy, so we got into it. Like, I felt like he wanted too much for the Jeep, and I had a budget, and I was just like, nope, this is where I'm at. And I thought maybe if I'm in person, taking on a test drive, all that, and he might just say, okay, let's do it. And I'm like, cash money, I'll pay this much. I don't remember the number, but I had some money for this, and I would have had a lot left over if he had met me. Well, then he was interested in the Liberty, and he was like, well, if I take the Liberty off of your hands and we trade, and then you kick in this much or whatever, and I'm like, but then I told him that the AC compressor in the Liberty needed to be replaced, which is true. It wasn't blowing cold. Those things were problematic. I'd replaced it like 3 fucking times, and I finally said, forget it, I'm not doing it again. But what will eventually happen is the clutch inside the broken AC compressor will eventually seize, and then the belt will start smoking on the pulley, or the pulley will start smoking, and the whole thing it'll look like you're catching on fire under the hood. And then you have to go replace it. But until that day, I would just drive it. They did even make, for these, this is so stupid, they made a pulley to like where your AC compressor was mounted in the Liberty. You could just get a mount for a regular pulley so that you would have a free spinning pulley in the spot where the AC compressor goes without having to replace your AC compressor. You could just have a free, they made an aftermarket thing so that you just have a pulley there with no compressor, because these things were notoriously bad. Like, you wouldn't even get you'd be lucky to get to the end of the warranty on the AC compressor, and guaranteed the day that warranty expires on that new AC compressor you just replaced within about a month after that warranty's over, it's done. It's going to die. Anyway, this guy wanted to trade the Liberty, but we still couldn't when he knew that the AC compressor needed fixed, and I told him about the back window problems, and he was like, he lowballed me. He wanted, so we just couldn't meet. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to go home. And he was shocked because he thought, like, this guy drove 3 hours to get here and he's just going to walk away. So, like, he kept texting me over the next week or two. And I was just like, no, I'm good. And I ended up finding a way, way, way better deal on a almost brand new JK Wrangler. It was 8 years old, but had been sitting in a garage and only drove 20,000. It was drove 20,000 miles in a span of 8 years. It was still almost, it looked brand new. It looked as if it just came off the showroom floor. And I got, between trading in the Liberty and the money I had socked away, I was able to just buy it straight up. And it was way better. And I never had a problem with it. The AC compressor never died the whole time I owned it. I never had any of the problems that the Liberty had. It was a reliable vehicle. I drove that thing all over the country and never had a problem with it. So it is kind of hit or miss, but I'm not going after, especially right now where I need a reliable vehicle. I'm not buying a Ford, a Chevy, a Fiat, Chrysler, none of that. I'm going with Toyota or Honda. Pretty much a couple of Subarus here and there pull up on the results, but I'm kind of Subaru Forester. There was a Forester that popped up, and I'm like, it might be a decent car. I'm not getting an Impreza, no way. If you get one of those, you're begging for, especially if it's a STI or a WRX or any of those like souped up high-end Toyota or Subarus, forget it. Whoever owned that before you raced it and burned out that whole thing's a burned out husk of a car by the time you get your hands on it. It's kind of like if you buy a mudded up Jeep. If you buy you can tell if you look at a Jeep, you can tell sometimes people take their Jeeps and abuse them. I did. All of my Jeeps I've put through hell. I took care of them, but I did Jeep shit in my Jeeps. I totally did. If you saw some of the things I did with that Wrangler, I drove that thing through a freaking pond once that came up over the hood and was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting it to be that deep. It was fine. We got it done, but I did some things that I shouldn't have done. That could have really been a bad day. I didn't have a snorkel intake coming up. I was like, let's roll the dice. It's a Jeep. Thing went anywhere. That thing you couldn't make that thing stop. Couple of times, like one time I was about to cross a river and one of my tires sank into the mud, and I'm like, ooh, this might not be, the river wasn't that deep. It was a rocky shoal, and I could see all the way across the river that I was in there. The trail, the road that I was on picked right up on the other side of the river. And it was, I don't know what river, it was in Ohio somewhere. But it was a decent width, and I'm like, but the mud that I sank into right before pulling it, right? Like I had to that was your last chance to change your mind. And one of the wheels just went down into the, I'm like, yo, this ain't gonna be good. If I get stuck out in the middle of this river, it's over. Game over. Because who's gonna come and get me? So I'm like, I didn't have a winch. I didn't have a way to get myself out. And I'm like, I think I'm gonna. So I had to put it in reverse, and I had to reverse about half a mile in reverse because there was nowhere to turn around on this rickety old trail back up this hill, and just I'm like, change my mind, I'm out. And I had so much mud on my front tire that the wheel balance was so bad. I couldn't go faster than 35, 40 miles an hour down the road I went to a car wash, and it was one of those touchless car washes, and now I could go about 45 miles an hour before the vehicle was just totally off balance. Then I had to find one of those car washes with the hose that you can do it yourself, and I got all up in there and got as much, and the wheel balance was still screwed up, but I could at least go 60 miles an hour without, it was still like this the whole freaking way home. And then I had to take it to my mechanic and be like, I need my wheel balanced. This thing's screwed. And then the mechanic kind of pissed me off. They didn't clean the wheel off before they balanced it, so they balanced it as with chunks of mud all up in there. And so I had to clean it all out, like really clean it all out, and then take it back and get it balanced again. But I mean, they were friends of mine. They didn't charge me a lot, but whatever. I was hoping that they would just be like, they take the wheel off, like get the mud out, and then balance it. That's what I wanted you to do. Make it right. But whatever. It all worked out eventually. But right now I don't feel like I can trust an American-made vehicle. American-made vehicles generally suck. There was a Ford Focus, and it wasn't the high-end zippity-doo-dah, whatever the hell, STI, whatever. I don't know what whatever the Ford Focus race, deluxe fast version is. It was just it looked nice though. It was meticulously maintained. The owner had listed all the things on it, said he had full service records from the day it was brand new. Everything was meticulous, but I did my homework on these, and they're basically like one of the most unreliable cars they make. The transmission basically needs to be replaced every 40, 50,000 miles because it's a dual clutch transmission and it completely falls apart. And it's like notoriously bad. And I was reading the owner's description. It said the transmission had just been replaced at 54,000 miles and now it had like 60,000 miles on it. And I was like, he wants to get rid of this fucking car because it's a money pit. And it's out of warranty. He probably got all this work done under warranty, and now that warranty is about to be done, if it's not done, and he's like, I gotta get rid of this thing because now it's gonna start costing me money. Sell it. And so, I mean, on the surface, it looked like a good car, but I took 5 different vehicles that I bookmarked, and I had my own gut feeling about which order they would rank in terms of the best buy to the worst one. And the only one that I felt would be worse than the Ford Focus was a Fiat 500. But this Fiat 500 had very low miles, had like 20,000 miles on it. Stick shift, had some other cool features. But it's a Fiat. It's a Fiat 500. I don't know if I trust that. And anyway, so I put that at the bottom, then the Ford Focus, then there was something else. Then I had the Subaru Forester, and then I had the Toyota RAV4. And this RAV4 had 148,000 miles on it, and it was about $4,000. I could go buy it for $4,000 from a private seller. The only cosmetic damage that I saw were a couple scratches on the body, and there's 2 glove boxes, a top and a bottom. The top glove box needs to be replaced because someone smacked up the door. It's all beat up. So that would, I could use a couple of things to haggle. Oh, it's going to cost me a couple $100 to replace that glove box, which I would do. Who wants to drive, I don't want to be looking at that when I'm driving around a vehicle I just bought. So I'd do it as soon as I bought the vehicle. I'd order the glove box on eBay, get a replacement, and it's probably an easy thing to do yourself. Probably a bunch of swear words, maybe having to go get a special screwdriver that fits in some crazy spot that you can't get anything into. Who knows? Maybe Toyota's better Though maybe their engineers are sensible and keep screws and things like that where you can actually reach them. I don't know. But it can't be that hard of a job. Be careful what you say there, but I can't imagine it would be that ridiculous to just swap that out. But anyway, Grok came back. I asked it a bunch of questions. I said, here's the vehicle, model, year, price, mileage, etc. And I'm just like, I asked it a bunch of different questions and then said, can you put these in your order of what you think would be the best buy based on the longevity, the expected lifespan of the car, problems that people report with them, just different things. The price versus the market value, all that kind of stuff. And it put the RAV4 at the top. And I was like, yeah, I feel the same way. I know a lot of people who have owned RAV4s. I've driven a couple. I've driven around in a couple of them before. They're decent. I mean, it's not. I would not choose that. If I could just go buy whatever vehicle I want, I wouldn't go buy a RAV4. But I do trust the Toyota. I would trust that to go to Pittsburgh and back and expect to not have any issues driving out on the highway at just cruising from here to there. It's an automatic. I'd rather have a stick shift, but on a long drive like that, to just put it in cruise control and coast all the way there would be all right. It's got 4-wheel drive or all-wheel drive or one or the other. Or it can go places I want to go. It's not gonna be all beefed up, but it's not gonna be a wimp. It would probably be a good all-around kind of a vehicle. Even if I moved back to Pittsburgh, where it snows and has weather on the roads, I wouldn't be stuck with a rear-wheel drive, something or other. So I don't know. I don't know if that's what I'm going to end up getting, but it does. I am just paying attention now, and I will spend a few minutes here and there checking out whatever I can find. Maybe I'll look at specifically how many RAV4s are there around here, since that seems like a price point that I could get something that would fit my budget. Probably decent on gas. Maybe I could find a better looking RAV4 for around the same price. I don't know. But I'm certainly not going to get a Ford. I'm not going to get a GM. Oh, no. No. I'm not getting a vehicle that I feel like is going to fall apart the first time I go on a long drive. I owned a Mini Cooper for a while. A lot of those are showing up in my budget. Hell no. I owned one. I know what that is. You're basically gonna be you're not gonna be able to drive a Mini Cooper that's in that price range. You're not gonna be able to drive that thing for more than 2 to 3 weeks without something going wrong. Check engine light, boop, comes on. Something else, boop, light comes on. You're gonna be dealing with something going wrong on that vehicle once a month. The reason why I could deal with it back in the day was because it was my go-to-work car. I had a Wrangler and a Mini Cooper. And the Mini Cooper I only bought it to go back and forth to Pittsburgh. It got decent gas mileage. For how fast it was, it had decent. It wasn't great. You had to put premium in it. But it was a decent car to drive back and forth. But I never, the whole time I owned that Mini Cooper, I never took it outside of the AAA towing radius from my house. It was there was 100 and I had the gold whatever status AAA package, mainly because if I had a breakdown in Pittsburgh, I'd want to get my vehicle towed back to the garage where I lived because I trusted them. And so I never took the vehicle farther away from the garage then the AAA towing radius, I never took it outside of that radius. I don't think I ever took it outside of that circle. If I had to go somewhere outside of that circle, I took the other vehicle. Now, the Mini Cooper never really broke down. In fact, I never had to have it towed the whole time I owned it. But I never trusted it either. I'd go get groceries. I'd go on like a half-hour drive, like half hour to someplace, half hour back, or I'd drive to Pittsburgh and back. Boom, check engine light. Crap. And I had the little computer, I had a thing, I could plug it in, see what's going on. Oh, it's an oxygen sensor here, whatever, this, that, and the other thing. You'd replace that sensor, boop, check engine light again, another sensor. You'd be driving along, all of a sudden, some other thing would happen. There was something with the TPMS sensors that it was just a matter of time before I had to replace the alternator twice, had to replace the, there was just a lot of stuff. Like, you couldn't really go, I'm telling you, you couldn't really drive that car for a month without something, oh crap, I gotta fix this. It may not be something that you have to fix right away, but I'm I'd like to take care of a vehicle if I own it, so if something does pop up, even if it's minor, I try to fix it right away. Or in the case of having two vehicles, I might just park the Mini Cooper for a week or two and just wait until I get paid, take it in, get it fixed, and just not drive it unless I have to. Same with the Jeep. If something would happen with the Jeep, like, oh crap, I gotta fix this, I just park it, drive the other car for a while until the money is there for the fix. Even if it was a minor thing, even if I could still drive the vehicle without really having a problem, I'm still like I'm the same way with my bicycles. If I have a minor issue with one of the two bicycles I own, I'll set it aside and just be like, I don't need that shit. I don't need a problem on my way to and from work. I'll just hang it up, take the other bike, fix it this weekend, fix it next weekend, whatever. I still have the other bike I can use. I don't have to do it tonight. I don't have to do it right now. Could be just a small thing. Like the Silver Bullet had just a small issue with the rear wheel popped out. I hung it up for 2 weeks before I looked it over and I replaced the quick release skewer on the back wheel just in case. I think I know what happened, and it makes sense. And the quick release skewer that I had kind of sucked. It wasn't that great, and I could see an indication of what I thought happened could have been what happened. And I'm like, I'm just gonna replace it with. I had another quick release skewer I wasn't using, so I just threw that in there and tightened it up, and it looks better. It seemed like an upgrade. Had no problems with the bike. I took it out on a ride. I rode it to work twice, so that's 100 miles I put on the bike without any issue at all. Maybe a couple of, may have to adjust the shifting cable tension a little bit. That's about it. So I'll be the same way if I had two vehicles. If the smallest little thing, I'll just be like, park it, take the other one, deal with this on, when I get paid or whatever. If I have one vehicle, it needs to be reliable. It needs to be something I'm not going to have to be taken to the shop all the time. The Mini Cooper, that won't do. It was reliable enough as a second vehicle that I really didn't have. I'm telling you, I had a spreadsheet for each vehicle I owned with the purchase price of the vehicle, like what I actually paid because I took out a loan on the Mini Cooper, so I knew exactly how much I paid for the Mini Cooper, not just the purchase price, but the interest on the loan and the other fees and stuff, and plus all the repairs I ever did to it. And I had the same thing for the Wrangler. I just made a little spreadsheet. I said, this is how much I paid for it. Here's it's all there, your paperwork. It's not like it was hard to do. And then anytime I ever get repairs, I keep the receipts and I keep them in a folder. I keep the records. And so it's like boom, 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 boom. Every time I need new tires, new brakes, whatever, it's all there. Now, I owned this Mini Cooper for about 6 years. I owned this Mini Cooper for about 6 years. And during the time I owned that car, the total cost of owning that car, and that includes the purchase price, the interest I paid on I had a small loan. The interest that I paid on the loan for that car, all the repairs that I put into it, which there were a lot compared to the Wrangler, all the money I put into that Mini Cooper was less than the purchase price of the Wrangler. The entire cost of ownership of that Mini Cooper, I don't calculate insurance in that, but the entire cost of ownership to own the Mini Cooper for 6 years and keep it in good condition and drivable and all that, and take as good a care of it as, I mean, it was a daily driver. It wasn't like I was trying to maintain a showpiece, and it looked like it. It didn't look bad, but it definitely, I took it to the car shows where all the Mini Cooper, the Beamer Minis are all in a row, and you could tell mine was one of the oldest ones there, but you could tell it was a daily driver because they'd be sitting next to a John Cooper Works that was the same year, that was all pristine, looked like it just came out of the showroom, and here's mine that, even though it was detailed and clean, you could tell he drives this. You could tell this gets driven on a regular basis. And it was fine. I mean, that's it just shows that it was a good car overall. But I wouldn't trust it as my only vehicle, no way. But in its defense, the 6 years that I owned that car, the purchase price and all of the repairs, added up to less money than the Wrangler cost to buy. So it was still, I mean, it was probably like $10,000, $12,000 over the course of 6 years. Complete. Maybe less than that. I don't know. I probably don't have access to that spreadsheet anymore. It doesn't matter. That's what it cost. It was less than the cost of buying the Wrangler. And then the Wrangler had a bunch of repairs over the years that I owned it. But the repairs were fewer than the repairs on the Mini Cooper. Like, the Jeep would have to go to the shop here and there, but less frequently. And so that made the Jeep, in my opinion, better because I could trust it more. I could trust going and getting in the Jeep, driving off, going on a 3,000 mile drive, and pretty much be confident that I'm not going to have any issues the whole time I'm gone. And that was always the case. It always made it home. Things might happen on trips. I've had a few issues, but I could always get home and take care of it at home. The Mini I couldn't trust. I would never take that Mini Cooper across, far and have it actually break down somewhere and be screwed. So that's why I'm like, right now I'm looking for the best buy that I can find, but making sure that the vehicle should be expected to be reliable. And so in my budget, there's a lot of old Cherokees that are bomb-proof. The mid-90s Cherokees, there are tons of those for sale. In that price range, I think people have them overpriced because of how old they are, but they are reliable. Like, I think mine had close to 200,000 miles on it when it was stolen and wrecked. And it still started up. It was destroyed beyond the cost to repair it would have been astronomical compared to what it was worth, so it was a total loss. But the I was always convinced that that vehicle would be like a really good vehicle in the end of days, because that thing would just go. It would just go. It didn't care. You could do anything to it and it would just keep going. But in the sense of driving old Cherokee to Pittsburgh and back, I would trust it to get there and back without giving me any problems. And if something did happen, it would probably be cheap to fix. They were never too expensive to fix unless you have unless it's covered in aftermarket stuff. And then do I want to take a big aftermarket riddled Cherokee across the country with big giant tires on it and all the, modifications that are going to make it drive like shit on the highway? I don't think so. So the RAV4 is kind of sticking out, but like an old Honda Civic or something like that, there could be something else that pops up. If I find an old Honda Civic for like $2,000, I'll go get it. I'll do something, something that I know I can trust and have all that money left over. I would do it. Get myself a car and not blow the whole wad of cash that's coming my way would be fine too. So it does feel good. It feels so good to be having this problem. I'm not even calling it a problem, but to be at a place where I can actually start thinking there's a light at the end of the tunnel here with this being exhausted all the time. I could get a car. I could take different shifts at the bakery and balance out my freelance even more. Because I won't, I could go do closing shifts where I work from 5 to 10 or something and work on freelance in the morning, go from 5 to 10, I could get a few extra hours and get more money from the bakery and go find another job or whatever. It just opens up so many doors of possibility that I'm excited to think about it. I got to get some stuff together for the live stream tonight, which is every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and 7 to 9 Eastern Time. I'm a little behind on everything. I don't have a video to post today. There's some uploaded. I gotta do a lot of stuff. I fell behind. So here's another thing I'm working on. Good stuff, but I wouldn't call it, I don't know if it's stressful, just time consuming. I took the new phone yesterday and I started setting it up. One app at a time. But there's so many apps that I use. This phone that I'm talking to you on, I've had it in my hand since April 2nd of last year. There's a lot of apps on this phone. There's a lot of stuff I use regularly. And so now that I'm setting up the new phone, I'm going through all the problems, all the configurations, all the settings that you have to tweak to make it, a smooth transition. And I spent some time on that yesterday, and I'm not even close to being done. It's going to take days to get it all ironed out. Then I have to go through all these accounts, change the phone number. I'm going to keep the new phone number. And then I got to get a hold of people and tell them a new phone number and all that stuff, and go through the probation, whatever they're going to do. It's probably just send them a text, say, this is my new number, and get a response that says, okay, thanks for letting me know. The end of it. And there's probably something I have to fill out on the website along with that. And then I can just shut off the old phone. I got so many phone calls on the old phone today that are just spam. Straight up robocalls and stuff like that. I'm okay with getting a fresh phone number. And, eventually it's going to become the same thing. You sign up for enough stuff, all of a sudden that phone number is going to start getting calls that you don't want. But for a while, it'll be nice. Um, but that's time consuming. I'm not the guy who I don't just automatically use whatever app to transfer all your stuff from one phone to the other, because there's a lot of garbage that you don't want on your new phone. Like apps that you never use. And so I just have to go through each thing. And it'll take a while. It always does. But I'm doing it now. The irony of the phone blowing up or like having a major issue on Friday, a week ago from Friday, so it's been a week and a half, and then, almost tomorrow it'll be 2 weeks ago, forced me to get a new phone. And then the very next day I get this letter saying there's all this money coming your way. And then having to go through 3 to 4 business days of making nonstop calls to customer service people and getting into arguments and hassles. It burned me out. Like, that burned me out way more than it should have. But I'm just in this place right now where the PTSD or whatever it is that I'm feeling from everything that I went through, you get a place to where you can just be in a tranquil, when you can let go of that fight or flight response and just relax for a minute after you've been through a major thing like this. I mean, it was nonstop fight or flight from August 12th, 2022 until June 1st, 2025, when I moved into this place. And even then, it wasn't like instantaneous relax. Oh, I could chill. It wasn't instantaneous at that point. Looks like it might rain. Imagine that. It rains every day here. So, like, that whole release of tension of 3 years of nonstop fight or flight, fight or flight, fight or flight tension is like a spring that snaps and just boing, and you're like completely shot out from it. And I'm kind of going through the same thing now with the physical bike riding and I walked. Let's go to Strava. It's my profile. I can pull this right up. How far did I walk last year? Is it going to let me change the year? Yeah, oh yeah. 2024. Oh, that's cycling. That's not right. Hold on a second. This is 2024. It's saying I walked 0 miles. No, that's not. That's not true. Go to that. Hold on. I thought this would be quick to look up. There's all the walks and hikings. So I traveled in 2024 1,003.6 miles. What I'm trying to figure out is how much of that was walking. But between biking and walking, it was over 1,000 miles. But $473.6 on the bicycle. So I may have to just do the math, but I should just be able to pick. It says I hiked 0 miles, and I must have ran 0 miles. So it's not letting me look. It's not letting me look at walking. So I would have had to set. I would have had to tell Strava that I'm hiking instead of walking for it to show up. That's why it's not showing up on this page. So anyway, I gotta go to this. So hold on, I will tell you. 1,003.6 total miles. That's between cycling and biking. That's between cycling and walking. And then the cycling was 473.6. So I walked, according to this, 530 miles last year. It sounds accurate. I felt like it was longer than that. I truly feel like it was longer than that. Like this has got some bad data from last year, for sure. Oh wait, that's not from last year. Okay. I don't even know. So this year it's 3,309.3 miles minus 60 miles of, was it 60 miles of walking? 3,247.6 miles of biking and 60 miles of walking. And I'm exhausted from it. I'm exhausted from it. No doubt about it. And now that like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that I just got to make it to the day I can go turn the keys in the ignition of a car and drive home. It's like I'm going to another level of burnout, of just like you can finally relax, you finally made it to the end. You know, like those people that crashed in the Andes Mountains in a plane crash, and they had to eat the dead people to survive, and then they realize that nobody's coming to rescue them, and they're stuck on top of this mountain. And so like the 2 or 3 dudes that still had enough energy to walk had to walk out of the Andes Mountains and head west and hope that they make it to the coast somewhere in Chile, or where was it, Chile? I don't remember where they were. Argentina. And they have to find civilization. And every time they get to the top of one of the mountains, they look out and all you see is more mountains. Up and down and up and like, how are you going to get through that? And eventually they found their way to civilization, and they're just like, imagine how much you would fall apart after going through something like that. Like your body will make you do what you have to do to survive. So these people are pushing through. They got that spirit of survival. They're no matter what comes their way, they're not going to die. We're going to live. We're going to take that next step. It don't matter how shitty I feel. Don't matter how much frostbite I got. It don't matter how much human flesh I've got to eat. Dirty water I got to drink. How much my bones are broken. How much my feet hurt. All that stuff. How cold I am. Whatever it is. All of it. They're just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. But imagine how you'd feel when you get to the end and you're like, you can finally like sleep in a bed. Like how long would it take you to recover from that? Like how long would you just lay there and do nothing and have the strength to do nothing? Probably months to recover from something like that. To where you just don't have much in you. You had it in you to live. You had what it took to get to the end. And no matter how long it took them to get to the end, they would have just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, or they would have died. So, but then you get there and it's like, I couldn't even imagine what that would feel like to just be able to go, and then the PTSD and having to eat your friends. And because this was like a soccer team, like they all knew each other, they were all friends with each other, and they had to eat their dead bodies to live. And like, you know, all the stuff that they went through, and they, you know, all the people that died, and all that, all of it. You get to the end of something like that, that's going to, first of all, it's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. But how long is it going to be before you have the energy to go out and do stuff and work a job and play soccer again and do all the stuff that you do? It's probably going to be a while. It's probably going to be a while. And so earlier in this video, I was talking about the PT, you know, what I went through after my son was born. I got fired from the job. I had been through all kinds of hell leading up to that. Now I've got a son who is just born, and some of the stuff that happened while I was struggling to come back from being fired for going to the hospital when he was born, we had one of the worst winters in Pittsburgh that we've ever had. The economy was in the toilet. I couldn't find a job. My freelance business had dried up. That's why I went to work at this company in the first place, the one that fired me. So now I'm like, I have no freelance work and no job, and I'm fighting for unemployment, and I've got a newborn son. His mom and I weren't really getting along. Kinda yes, kinda no. Everything was just massive amounts of stress. And it was, so I started a new job in February, and I'm like, yes, I'm finally there. I finally made it. I got a good job. Everything was going great for like 2 weeks. We had like this blizzard, this giant blizzard. One of the worst, it actually was the worst snowstorm I ever saw in Pittsburgh during my time living there. And I lived there for 25 years or so. And this was the worst snowstorm I ever saw. It shut down the whole city. So, as a result of this snowstorm, it was a small design studio that I was working for. They basically laid me off. 2 weeks after I started there, they called me in and they said, we're going to have to let you go for a bit. We can't. All of our clients have stopped our projects and nobody's in the office. We're going to have to. So that for like, turned into a month. So I was off unemployment. And then I had to go back on unemployment because I had a job for 2 weeks and then I was laid off. It wasn't anything, you know, they're like, you're doing a great job. We like having you here. Ironically, the door to the new studio I was working at was adjacent to the door of the company that fired me for going to the hospital. The doors were 10 feet apart. People from the old company where I got fired, I had to see them eye to eye regularly. And they're like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I work here now. But that was only for a couple of weeks, and then I'm home again in a snowstorm. The snow was so deep it went all the way up to the door handles of my Jeep Cherokee. It was like 22 inches of snow fell in one night, and it just kept coming, and it wouldn't go away. And then it all melted in a single day. When the temperature went up to like 70 degrees, it all melted at once and it flooded everything. Crazy winter. So it wasn't until April. It was like the first week of April that I got a new job. First week of the new job was when the unemployment fight became even worse. They were telling me I would have to pay back. Within 3 days of starting my new job, they're telling me you got to pay back $10,000 to the state. And then I had to go to court to fight. This was for being fired for having a baby. And so I won, but I had to go through this whole process after I just got a new job, 3 days into the job. 4 days into the new job, I go to pick up my daughter after school, and a motorcycle cop in Pittsburgh, and if you know anything about Pittsburgh, the cops that ride the motorcycles are the biggest dickheads in town. I got pulled over by a motorcycle cop on the side of the road because my inspection sticker was expired by about a month. He pulled us out of the vehicle, set us on the side of the road, had a tow truck come and tow my Jeep away, and wrote me a ticket, not only for the expired inspection, but also the admission. And then I had to have a friend come and get me, take me down to the impound, and I had to pay $150 to get my Jeep out of the pound, which was not even a mile away from where I was pulled over. So I could have walked there. But I also needed to borrow money to get it out because I just started a new job. I didn't have any money. So I borrowed money from a friend, and then I wrote a check to my friend and handed it to him. I said, wait like 4 days to cash this. I'll have the money back in the account. He's like, yeah, that's cool, brother. Yeah, I gotcha. So I went and got the Jeep out of the fucking impound lot after getting these 2 tickets. And then I had to go get the vehicle inspected the next day so that wouldn't happen again. First garage I took it to wanted to rip me off and charge me like $1,000 worth of stuff that it didn't need. I took it to another garage and they're like, no, you don't need any of that. Here you go. Sticker. And this was all like, and so all of this happened. And then all of a sudden, now I'm at a new job. I get my first paycheck. Everything starts to work itself out. There for like maybe 2 or 3 weeks. All of a sudden, I went into like, depression's not the word, because it wasn't a depression, but it was a burnout cycle. I could barely get up in the morning and go to my job. I could barely move. I could barely do anything. And I went probably 6 months of just stringing along and barely like sleeping from Friday night until Monday morning and hardly getting out of bed. On any weekend that I could do that, which wasn't every weekend, but if I ever had a weekend where I didn't have anything I needed to do and my kids were with their mothers, I would come home from work on Friday night, go straight to bed, get up at Monday morning and go to work. I wouldn't even, if I did anything, it was to get up and eat and watch TV and go back to bed. And it was just that release of tension. I had a year, almost an entire year of nonstop, out of this world stress, crazy levels of stress. And it finally got to a point where the stress was over and I could relax. The fight or flight response could go away and I could just catch my breath, if you will. And as a result of that, it turned into a burnout period, probably 3, 4, maybe 6 months of being completely burned out. And then I started to come back from it and had a good time. Had a lot of good things happened. And I was going through a similar thing when I got arrested by the FBI. And I'm not making up excuses for what I did. But people ask me this all the time. How did you get into that mindset? How the hell were you that stupid, Adam? Like, how were you so stupid that you went and said those things on social media? Number one, I watched a bunch of Democrats burn down a bunch of cities, destroy parks, set police stations on fire, do all kinds of crazy shit and riot openly in the streets for over a year, and nobody ever got in trouble. So they're not gonna come kick down your door because of a social media post. You're wrong, they do. Number two, I broke my arm in August of 2019. It's never really healed to this day. I live with it, but it's always going to be a nagging injury that I have for the rest of my life. I feel it every day. No amount of physical therapy or surgery or whatever, it's just going to be there. It was a lot more severe than I thought when it first happened. But in your bone, if you break a bone in your elbow, I'm watching the women's Tour de France right now. There's a woman riding in the Tour de France with a broken elbow. She broke it a couple of weeks before the race, and she's racing. What, I don't know how, because I couldn't be in a bike race. You probably got to be careful what you do. But a certain number of weeks later, yeah, I could be in a bike race. That would probably, I mean, I could do it now, but and you know, these professional athletes have the best medical care money can buy. So, you know, because they're like they're someone's private property essentially, and got to make sure that your athlete's bones work. You know, when you're just a regular old peasant, they don't give a fuck about you. They're just gonna be like, here, have a pill. But if you're a professional athlete, they're gonna be like, here's a new bionic arm, and we totally fixed all the bones, and we made them even better than they were before. So, but that's how it started, okay? 2019, I broke my arm on a freak bike accident, followed by a few months after my arm healed. I was still in physical therapy when the COVID scam started. Now the COVID scam hits, and we all know what that was, and the riots, and the rigged election, and all the things that went with that, and all of the hardships that we were all put through because of that. Then I lost my job because I wouldn't take the shot, and I'm kicked to the curb, and like everything was just chaos from the day I broke my arm all the way to the day the FBI drove a tank into my house. It was just one thing after the next. Constant chaos, constantly chasing my tail, constantly trying to make sure that preparedness wise we're prepared for whatever these assholes are about to do next. So you couldn't focus on anything you wanted to do in life. You had to focus on, do I got enough food in the fridge to last a year if we need it? What are we going to do when they shut the power off? What are we going to do when they declare martial law and you're not allowed to leave your house? Where are we going to go? Or are we going to find a piece of land somewhere that's out in the middle of nowhere so that they don't, like all these things. But getting fired for not taking a shot from a remote job where I worked from home was definitely a catalyst that led to my mind. I remember how I felt. I was mad. I mean, obviously, I was mad at what these people were doing to us. And now here I'm struggling to survive. I would have been just fine. My career would have been just fine if they would have just left us the fuck alone. But now I'm losing my job and my career because I wouldn't take an experimental shot in order to keep a job where I work from home. And so that just didn't settle with me. And I'm fighting for unemployment. I had to sell one of my vehicles just to survive another couple of months, all this stuff. And then, yes, I found a new job. And the first few weeks of that job were, holy mackerel, they were stressful. It was an extremely stressful job to start. I was there for 4 months, and then the FBI came. After 3 months on that job, I was burned out just from the stress of the job. It was a high stress job. Everybody that I worked with was good people. I didn't have any beef. There were a couple people, there were people I liked and people that I'm like, but there was no animosity and backstabbing and politics to deal with. It was just a very stressful job. And you had to learn a lot of stuff in a short period of time, or you would sink instead of swim. And so that was burning. So finally I got into that rhythm, and about a month before I was arrested, I was completely burned out from all of it. Not just the job, but the broken arm, the COVID scam, all the stuff that went with that, relationship issues that I'm not even going to talk about in this video, but I got screwed over in that department a couple of times. One in particular, and that's a crazy story. That story is fucking off the rails crazy. And then there was the losing the job and all the stress of everything. And so about a month before the FBI came to my house, I had to go to Rochester, New York for a week for company meetings, and like people from all over the country, in fact, people from all over the world congregated on Rochester, New York for a week so that we could all work together and get to know each other in person, because we were distributed all over the world. And so this was our opportunity to get to know each other. And there was a design conference going on, and so we were participating in that. And there was a bunch of stuff. And then after that conference, I came back home, worked for about a week, and then I'm like, I'm on vacation. I took a 2-week trip to go on a vacation with, let's forget about it. I just went on vacation. And so that was good. But the burnout was there. I remember how I felt that I was burned out on that vacation. I was like, it was a good vacation, but it was I was worn out, and I could feel it. And the whole time I was like, I got no energy for anything right now. Just going on a walk was enough. We went on a hike up a mountain one day in the 2-week vacation, and we were both so worn out from that hike that we felt it the rest of the time we were gone. And then I came back from that. So now that's 2 trips I'm back from in a month. And then I take my son, because I didn't take him on the vacation trip. I took him. I worked for a week at this stressful job, but it was starting to, I was starting to feel a lot better, because now I'm ramped up to speed now, and I know how to do my job now. But I'm still tired and I'm burned out. And I take my son on a backpacking trip. 4:30 Friday afternoon, we leave. We start hiking Friday afternoon at 5:30 in the evening. I have the GPS file. I know exactly where we were when. We hiked until about sunset, right at sunset, around 9 o'clock at night. The whole entire hike was about 25 miles. My son was 12 years old. We were both backpacking in the Allegheny National Forest wilderness on the North Country Trail. And we were on a remote stretch. So from where we parked the vehicle, the next place where there was a parking lot or a space to park a vehicle was like 25 miles. So the 25-mile hike we never saw. That was Friday afternoon from 5:30 to about 9, then all day Saturday, until around 2 or 3 in the afternoon on Saturday, we reached a campsite, and I knew how long it was going to take to hike to the finish line, and I'm like, this is where we're going to camp tonight. That way I'm not burning out my kid, because we started at like 9 in the morning, and it's 3 in the afternoon, and it was super hot. He was feeling it. He was tired, carrying a backpack, and living, we were sleeping in hammocks and tarps. And so we set up a camp at 3 in the afternoon on Saturday, got a good campfire going, got the music, got food, and we just relaxed. And then the next morning, we left at 10 a.m., knowing that we'd get to the finish line pretty much. We were supposed to get to the finish line to get picked up at 2 in the afternoon, and it was 2:00 on the clock when we got to the finish line. Maybe 3. But whatever time it was, we were exactly on time. I don't know how we did that, but it was exactly on time, not kind of on time. I even said, I'm like, give us an extra half hour before you panic. Because there's no cell phone signal out there. It's just, this is where we'll be at this time. But give us a little time, don't panic if we're not there. But we got there exactly on time. But anyway, so from 5 in the afternoon on Friday until 3 in the afternoon Sunday, we were hiking the 25-mile hike with these backpacks in August heat. And then we had to go pick up the Jeep, go home, and then for the next couple of days, and then I had to go right back to work the next day, Monday. And then that was the week where I lost my cool. And I started posting, because, Monday night, we're watching the news, or we're watching TV, and all of a sudden they're like, they've raided Donald Trump's house, the FBI is, like, it looked like martial law, like they're going to arrest the president so he can't run again. You know what I mean? Like, we're watching this fucking stupid cocksucker Joe Biden, who stole an election, and now he's doing, like, more third world dictator shit. And I lost it. I fucking lost my mind. And I started posting shit. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday evening comes around. I'm exhausted. I was so burned out and tired from all of this stuff. Not just the last month of traveling, but everything from the day I broke my arm all the way to the day the FBI came. Friday, I take my son out to his favorite restaurant. We sit and eat cheeseburgers, and we come home. It's a 5-minute drive. And it's like 7:30 in the evening, and the sun is still out, and I fell asleep in a chair in the sunroom. I'm just like this. And I woke up, I'm like, I gotta go to bed. And at some point, I'm like, you should probably just delete that account, dude. Gab, you're too angry right now, posting all this stupid shit. You're just out of your mind right now. You need to just, like, take a break from all the news and all this bullshit and just focus on your life and the things that you want to do, and stop getting all riled up and then going on to Gab and reading all these news stories and all these people saying all this shit, and then and then participating in it and saying all the same shit yourself, never expecting the FBI is going to drive a fucking tank into my house over some fucking social media posts. But this is where I was at. So if you wanted an explanation as to how you get there, it was, 2019 in August, 3 years of crazy shit led up to that. I broke my arm, almost, not exactly to the day, but it was August 1st, 2019, I broke my arm. 2020, 21, I was fired from my job for Christmas, and now it's August 2022, and they just raided Donald Trump's house. Everything that happened in between the broken arm and the day that they raided Donald Trump's house, I went fucking batshit crazy mentally. Angry. Like, just fed the fuck up. Like, that was the final straw for me mentally. Like, I am so sick and tired of these fucking scumbag Democrats and everything that they're fucking doing. And ruining our lives. And they were ruining our lives and having a direct impact on my life, my significant other's life, my friends' lives. They destroyed families, destroyed friendships, destroyed this fucking country, and I was done. And I'm just going to leave that, like, that's what led up to this. That's not an excuse. That doesn't make it okay. That doesn't mean that, we should give him a pass for saying the things that he said because, bad things happen. No. I'm just saying, though, if you want to know how somebody can get to that point, put someone through fucking pure miserable hell for 3 fucking years, and you're going to see a change in someone's attitude. And so now 3 more years goes by, and I'm here, sitting here talking to you, August 21st, and can you imagine the level of burnout? The amount of, now that I'm in a place, I can just be in this place. It's quiet. When I turn off the AC, when I turn off all the fans and buzzers and whatnot, it's quiet in here. I can kind of hear cars going by on the road a little bit. I hear a plane in the sky. I hear the ringing in my ears. If I go in the bathroom, it's even quieter. If I shut the bathroom door and I'm sitting there, it's dead quiet. hear a car go by on the road, just the tires. Another car. Certain times of the day, there aren't that many people. I don't even hear the neighbor. There's a neighbor right next door. If you look out that window right there, there's another small house right there, like 2 car lengths away, something like that. I don't even hear the guy pull in and out in his car. He parks right outside that window when he comes and goes. I have never once heard not only the car pulling in and out, but I never hear the doors open and close. I never hear the doors open and close on the other house that's right there. The only time I know that people are going by is out the main door here that you can't see, but I'm pointing at. There's the main door where you come into this place, and there's a window there. When people drive by it, because there's other homes on this property, when people drive by that, I see it with my eyes, but I don't hear it. I've done videos with you guys where Amazon came and delivered a package while I was talking to you guys, either on the live stream or here in this video camera. I never saw or heard the Amazon person come right up to the door and put the package on the door. It's quiet here. It's quiet. And like I said, ever since I moved into this place, something set in. This level of fatigue set in that I have not felt since I can't remember. If we go to the day in 2019 when I broke my arm all the way to today, which is it's a 6-year span of absolute hell. Every minute of my life was hell. From the day I broke my arm to the day I'm sitting here has been just pure hell. Day after, with some good moments in there, but overall, just stress and hell, more hell, more stress, more hell, more stress, nonstop for 6 years. Especially the last 3 years, which was at a level of beyond the 3 that came before it. And now I'm sitting here like, people keep saying some people say in the comments on the YouTube channel, you've got PTSD. No shit. Like, it's not the same kind of PTSD as going to war and watching people die and all of that level of stuff. But it's definitely there. It's definitely there. What it's going to take time. It's going to take time, peace and quiet, low stress. It's going to take what I'm not under a lot of stress right now. That's the good part about it. The main thing that I'm going through, the main chaos to come back, the main thing that I have to do right now is find a way to get my energy back up so I have the energy to do what needs to be done. I need rest. I need recovery. I need energy. And I just need to reclaim the time. Whatever I can do, whatever adjustments I can make to get my time back. Small things that I've done since I moved in here. I stopped going grocery shopping on foot, have the groceries delivered to the house. That saves a whole half of a day of my life. Every week now, when I go grocery shopping, it's just sit down in front of a computer, for about a half hour-ish, hour the most. Get your groceries, and then when they come to the door, put them away. Eat. It's very. That's one thing. I already stopped going to the bakery twice a week is what I'm doing at the bakery. A few weeks back, I went 3 times in a week and it hurt. It hurt. I did Friday, Saturday, and Monday, and it hurt really bad. I almost think that's when my toe started hurting on the bike ride home. Like there's physical things going on with my body that my body needs to stop or it's not going to heal. I put some corn callus remover liquid on my toe where I found a sore spot, and then I wrapped it in a bandage so that it would soak in. I might be able to scrape off a piece of my toe that will make me feel better. But then my big toe has this pain where you put any pressure on this one spot on my toe and it just hurts, and it's not a corn or it's not that kind of pain. It's like inside the toe pain, like a bruise. It feels like a bruise. So I can't put pressure on that part of my foot when I pedal, and I haven't had that till about a month ago, month and a half, somewhere between July 1st and today, that started. And it's not getting worse because I'm trying to fix it, and I'm trying to put in different insoles and different things to like try and mitigate this, but it's not going to go away until I take a few weeks off the bike. And I think it's just, God sees what's going on, and I feel like he hears my prayer, and he's like, all right, dude, I'm going to help you out here. Here's a bunch of money that you didn't know about. I'm going to give it to you now. Now you can go get your car. Now you can go now you can go get to the next level. You still got to struggle a little bit. You still got to, it's still not going to happen overnight. You're probably going to go through a bunch of BS. There's probably going to be a bunch of nonsense when you get a car, paperwork and government BS and who knows what, just to make it legal on the road. Who knows if I'll be able to get insurance. I haven't had car insurance since 2022, so will that come into play? Am I going to get gouged as a teenager with 6 DUIs before they turned 18? Am I going to have that kind of insurance rate? Because that's what they do to you. If you haven't had car insurance for a few years, they're just going to turn around and, that's a reason we can raise the price. So, so I don't know. I'm just like, we'll see what happens. But it's exciting more than it's frustrating. And I'm just ready to be I'm ready to be over. I'm ready to be on to the next step. I can get a bed. A real bed. I can get a car, and if I get something like that RAV4, I'll be able to go get a bed. I don't think it'll fit in the RAV4, but I can get a bed. I can get a full-size bed. It'll fit in the spot that I have set, for the bed. I can get a 2-seat love seat or recliner or something. I'd rather have, just in case I ever have company, a place to sit, watch a movie or something. Make that room nice and comfortable and nice looking. And I can probably do the other things that I want to do in this place to make this place comfortable for my stay here. And I think that I don't know, I can just feel I can feel the stress. It's just like this wave of fatigue has come over me that's so intense, it's hard to fight back. And so I know I'm getting close to the line. I'm going to say like middle of September. I'm planning on it. I'm going to be able to go on I'm going to be able to get away for a couple days. Sometime in September is my thought. Whether I go down to Galveston, pitch a tent on the beach and just sit in front of a fire with the waves and the beach and just swim around in the ocean, hope I don't get bit by a shark or whatever, and just kind of chill and just relax for a few days. Maybe ride around on a bike for fun. I have not one time since the day I moved to Houston rode a bicycle for fun. Not once. Every single time I get on that bicycle, it's because I have to go somewhere and it's my transportation. So there's no like, just go on a cruise, go tool around town. That's not a thing. That could be a thing now. Or I just be like, I'm going to go on a bike ride, go explore, have fun, enjoy a day of beautiful weather and sunshine and biking. Take the bicycle on a vehicle, park somewhere, go on a bike ride and explore something, and come back to the vehicle and go home. Like that's all just the possibilities of just, it's great to think about this. And then what? Then what is the next level going to be? After I get this squared away, get a vehicle, get things figured out there, whatever it is, the next priority is going to be getting work figured out, a better schedule, make more money, get out of this poverty level income and into like maybe reach the national average of income as a goal. And what else? Just, I don't know. Like, I really don't know. It's like, it's really sinking in that the possibilities of what could be next. I do need to put in time to try and get early release from probation, see if I can figure out a way to get a pardon. Early release is a stretch. I think a pardon is forget about it. The reason why I don't think I could ever get a pardon is because I don't think I could get a pardon because the Trump administration has been rounding up people for social media posts. I can think of at least 3 cases off the top of my head just in the last 4 or 5 months. And where people are sitting in jail right now, charged with pretty much the same charges I had, waiting for their day in court, which will probably take a year to a year and a half, going through the same thing I went through, except they threatened Donald Trump. And so, are they going to give me a pardon for doing the same thing and saying the same kind of shit and then be called a bunch of hypocrites? Oh, well, you just arrested all these people and charged them with the same thing you charged him with, but you're letting him go. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not going to happen. People keep telling me, oh, it's because you don't believe it'll happen. I don't. I don't believe it will. Could it? Sure. I never in a million years thought a check was going to fall out of the sky when I'm falling apart and trying to figure out how can I get myself a car. Oh, here comes a check out of the sky and falls in my hand. It's not in my hand yet, But according to yesterday's phone call, I don't have to do anything other than wait for the mailbox to wait for it to show up in the mailbox. Go to the bank, sign the back of that thing. Here you go. Put it in. Next day it should be available. And then I can go to, and then I can just go and do what I gotta do. I think and I'm also thinking about, like, do I buy a vehicle from a private seller or a dealer? I feel like there are a lot, just as many pros and cons there as there are about, like, which phone number do I go with the new phone. They're both good and bad. I think it's just going to boil down to what's the best deal I can find on a vehicle. A private seller is probably going to be the better deal. It just seems like that's going to be the case. And I think that's just where I'm going to stop this video today, because I'm being distracted here off to the side while I talk. And I think the next time I talk, I'm going to try and prepare. I might take a couple days off. I got to do a live stream tonight. That'll be fun. But you guys, when you show up to the live stream, you give me a lot of stuff. You make a bunch of comments and talk about things, and you get me, I can go right with, whatever direction you want to go. And that's fun. That's what's fun about it. But I think I'm just going to let you go, and I'm just bookmarking a bunch of videos that look interesting to my watch later list, so that when I do get to work, it'll be, have plenty of stuff to watch. And there's just a lot of random stuff that shows up in my feed. It's crazy. The random stuff would just blow your mind. Like the variety of it is crazy. It's just neat. So anyway, I'm going to say peace out, and we'll talk again.